Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to alert this House of the actions of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, which seem to be vindicating the claim made by Peter Navarro that he is being held as a political prisoner. I've been trying for 5 weeks to be able to interview Mr. Navarro, and there are provisions that ought to allow this, and I was informed directly by Director Peters, who runs the Bureau, that that request would be denied. And the reason it's being denied is because Peter Navarro is too notorious to be interviewed by a member of Congress. John Gotti was interviewed when he was in prison. The QAnon shaman was interviewed in prison. Director Peters herself brought NBC News through prisons to showcase the work of corrections that's being done. So I think there is something else afoot here. Mr. Navarro, I'm being told, is not being allowed to access his attorney, and it is because it is shameful what has been done to Peter Navarro based on a sham January 6th committee and a sham indictment and a sham conviction that we ought to work to remediate immediately upon President Trump's rightful and righteous return to office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Political prisoners, censorship, propaganda, and disinformation in America. Well, welcome to Training Tuesday here on the Rob Maness Show. We're live at Patriot.tv and our X Spaces simulcast. While America was once the land of liberty, folks, the home of the First Amendment, with freedom of the press, of speech, assembly, and the right to seek redress of our grievances from the government without fear of retribution. That America is evaporating before our very eyes. We are now the land of tyranny with political prisoners, government-imposed censorship of opposing views and political opponents, subjected to endless government propaganda and disinformation operations aided and abetted by civilian corporations, primarily the social media companies, and even worse, the once free press corporate outlets. Well, that's the bad news. But there is good news, because we still live in a country where there are American entrepreneurs and highly industrious and innovative people when it comes to solving problems our society faces. We even have some that still have a strong moral character, and they are working on this problem. One of those Americans joins me today to discuss the challenges and to talk about his new social media platform called Pickaxe. Jeff Dornick is CEO of Pickaxe and an author, podcast host, and an independent media network creator. Jeff, welcome back to the Rob Maness Show.
Hey, Rob, thanks for having me on. It's always a blast talking to you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you making the time to come on. I had to open with that little clip from Gates there because that shows the reality of a lot of things that I just talked about in the opening, and the reason why you created Pickaxe. What's the status of the platform, and what can we see next from that?
Yeah, so we've been building out Pickaxe for probably the last year or so, where we basically have everything built out. The final thing that we're working on right now is our advertising platform that's going to be completely unique. Nobody else is going to be doing what we're doing. We're going to be having a new spin and a new take on the revenue share model with content creators, because I want to help creators be able to monetize. So basically, I'm building this out specifically with the intention of helping content creators and show hosts and bloggers and writers and people in all different industries to be able to monetize their content unlike anything else that's out there. So that's the final phase of what we're building out. We're supposed to be getting that completed either this week or next week, and then we're going to be moving on to our beta launch. So things are moving very, very quickly, and I'm really excited to get this thing out there.
Yeah, I'm on your list, so I look forward to the beta launch. I get my hands on that. So how will the platform uh, uh, give us routing through and around this craziness that we see? Like, what Mr. Gates is talking about is government propaganda, saying that this Navarro guy, Peter Navarro, I don't know him, but I've seen his work many times in the past, well before he was in the Trump administration. He's an honest, upstanding American. He loves his country, and he did a pretty good job from President Trump's perspective and my perspective on trade and those kinds of things. And he's very forceful about it. So the government now, for misdemeanors, Jeff, says he's too notorious to interview on a media outlet that's in America. How can Pickaxe help us navigate that stuff?
Well, yeah, I think one of the things that we're dealing with, especially when it comes to big tech, is they're pushing the propaganda coming from our own government, and that's part of the problem. There's been this kind of symbiotic relationship between these big tech platforms and the government, and the one thing I will say too as well is that Elon Musk has opened up speech onto X, but also we can't forget he is a government contractor. He does work with the military, he does work with the intelligence agencies, and he works with the government in other governments from other countries as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say that he's going to be the most independent and free from influence from our own government as well. So we have to be careful with that side of things as well. The nice thing about the way that we're building Pickaxe is we're developing the algorithms in order to amplify real people that are verified. We're gonna have a free verification process. You don't have to pay for your blue check mark. If you are who you say you are, hey, guess what? It's gonna be free. You'll have that check mark and all of that. But then also we're gonna have algorithms that actually help to amplify your voice as opposed to downplay you. It's been interesting. This last week, I've been running a test on my social media on X, which has kind of pissed a lot of people off. But I was running with this theory that the algorithms on X are de-amplifying Trump posts and then amplifying any other posts supporting any other candidate. What's been interesting is that in the same day yesterday, it was really interesting. Yesterday, I posted a lot of very pro RFK stuff. I am very pro RFK, but I was running this test. I saw, okay, if I post pro RFK stuff, is that going to be amplified more than if I post pro Trump stuff? When I posted something that was pro-Trump, it got almost zero traction. When I posted something that was pro-RFK, it got 20, 30, 40, 50,000 impressions in a matter of hours. It was crazy seeing the difference. And I was talking with our mutual friend, Matt Couch, about this. He's seeing the exact same thing. And so it's really interesting how you see the algorithms that are playing. While there might not be overt censorship on X, we're still seeing the algorithms are manipulating what you're seeing, manipulating what's able to get out there. And when we're talking about somebody like Navarro, we need truth tellers. We need investigative reporters to get the information out there. And if the algorithms don't let you, then guess what? The other side wins. We have to have free and fair exchange of information that is not restricted at all, either by big tech or by our own government.
Do you think, I saw that Musk tweeted out, or he quote tweeted, and I still use the term tweet because I'm obstinate about stuff like that. And it's easier to say. So he tweeted out, there's a little video going around of RFK Jr. where he's like in the car or something. It's a very casual, low stress environment where he's just kind of chit chatting and answering some questions for somebody. And it's very well done. And he seems like he's an honest guy. Well, Musk tweeted it out. Will that action by Musk affect the algorithm the way you're talking about it? Because I saw what you were doing. I was observing that deal. I was wondering why you were doing it a little bit, because it seemed even more pro RFK than you usually are. Jeff, and the audience is probably going to have a question for you on that. I do too. I mean, I'm a pro-Trump guy. I mean, RFK was kind of interesting at first, but then when you start peeling a lot of layers back, I just have to go, well, I'm going to go with Donald Trump because I think he's best for the country and doesn't mind fighting for it. And I'm not sure about the other guy. But do you think Musk has enough influence on the algorithm by his account to change what you're talking about, to amplify RFK Jr. and de-amplify Trump, or is it something else altogether?
I don't necessarily think that RFK is being amplified per se, but I think for sure Donald Trump is being de-amplified. And so what ends up happening is when you have the algorithms, let's say you've got Elon Musk posting out that video, then all of a sudden what you're going to have is you're going to have all these other people responding to it or quote tweeting it or sharing it. That's going to help boost up the algorithms in order to, for RFK to go viral and all of that. But what we are seeing though specifically is that, we saw this with the Dilly meme team, that they're being targeted and being taken down. We're seeing a lot of pro-Trump content being either de-amplified or they're only pushed off into this little silo of other MAGA Trump supporters. It's almost like you've got Truth Social and you've got the same crowd from Truth Social on X, and they're the only people seeing the pro-Trump content. And it's like if we want a free and fair exchange of information and ideas and debates and discussions, we need to have cross-pollination of the different candidates, the different campaigns, the different audiences. And I think the algorithms are actually dividing us and pushing us apart. What I'm trying to build with our algorithms on Pickaxe is how can we have open conversations about these important issues? Because I feel like we're not really having them. We're having them within our own little silos of which candidate we support. I want to have these discussions and debates across platforms, across campaigns, so that way we can actually get the American people to think through these issues. Well, here's what Trump says. Here's what RFK says. Here's what Biden claims or his handlers claim or whatever it is. We should be able to have these conversations as opposed to just being around a bunch of yes men and that are propping us up.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like the RFK thing that you were doing the last couple of days. And you see the amplification of that, but you know that the numbers just aren't there in real life. Well, we've got a hand up over the audience, and you may know this guy. I see him, Shell. Shell's the host. Go ahead and let the hand raiser ask his question of Jeff.
Yep.
All right, Dornick. I don't know if you knew I was going to be here today, but I was coming for you with the RFK stuff, and you got ahead of me with saying you were doing an algorithm check. So this is Chad Caton, by the way, in case you haven't noticed my voice. I am on Freedom First,
I can tell.
Of his, which is his network. So I didn't know if you knew it was me, but I was coming for you in the RFK crap.
Do you have a question?
Oh yeah, no,
Chad?
Chad, I knew that was you the second I heard your voice.
Anyway, what?
You stepped on each other. Ask your question again, Chad.
Yeah, what in any way thinks, because I know that you have a like for RFK. I just want to know why, and at the end of the day, even though he's a spoiler, and I believe that it is mostly for Biden, the idea of a spoiler in it in any election can be detrimental. So can you explain to me why you have any concept of why you think RFK being in the race is a smart thing?
So I see RFK in the race very, very similar to how I saw Ron Paul when he would run for president in his campaigns, where I don't necessarily think that Ron Paul ever had a chance of winning the Republican nomination, but what he did is he forced the leaders in those debates and in those campaigns to talk about the important issues, talk about what are we doing when it comes to foreign policy, what are we doing about when it comes to economic policy and our finances and the Treasury and all of that. That was the beauty of a Ron Paul running in the Republican primary. I know this is different because this is a general election for sure, but I think what's ended up happening right now is you've got Donald Trump over on the Truth Social crowd, and he's talking up his base, and then he's got his surrogates that are out on X and social media and other places talking, and it seems like it's very MAGA, very America First, very much about loyalty, our guy, and I'm sitting over here talking to a lot of my friends and family that they can't stand Biden, but they're looking at the rhetoric and what's going on with Trump. And they feel like Trump and the team Trump is not talking to the issues that they're concerned about. So for me, I see RFK as actually forcing conversations about a lot of the issues that the everyday American feels when it comes to what we're facing today in this country. And I wish that we could get the MAGA influencers and the America First crowd, which I would still consider myself MAGA, America First, Donald Trump supporting. But I wish that we could start talking about a lot of the issues that I think that RFK is bringing up and he's articulating. We can agree or disagree with what he's saying, and that's totally fine. But he's talking about things in detail that I think people are starving for that information. And if you go back to 2015 and 2016, that's what Donald Trump did. What Donald Trump did in 2016, he laid out an agenda that brought independents, that brought sane Democrats over across party lines to vote for him. And he laid that message out for everybody. And it was kind of a unifying message to a certain degree. It's like, look, we got to deal with immigration. We got to have an America First foreign policy. We've got to deal with this economically. We've got to root out the corruption that's going on in D.C. But I think that that's being lost right now in the conversation because it's just us versus them, Republican versus Democrat, Trump versus Biden, Trump versus RFK. We're missing the point. We've got to lay out the platform that's unifying and will bring everybody together. And I feel like the MAGA side of things is not doing that. RFK is. And so I want to push that until we can get the MAGA side to actually start dealing with these issues that the everyday American is more focused on.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree with you, Jeff, but we got to take a break. And when we come back, we'll hear from crazy Maxine Marxist Waters, because she's at it again with a false narrative about us, Trump supporters. I'm Rob Maness with Jeff Dornick, CEO of Pickaxe, on Training Tuesday on the Rob Maness Show at Patriot.tv live. We'll be right back.
Darktalk.com, darktalk.com. Now you hit that website, that's exclusive to Patriot.tv, so you're able to also help your family and support our network to keep us going as well. Let's go to satellite phones, but then you just have regular phones as well, regular mobile phones as well. So you can click satellite phones, or you go back to the top, click secure phones. So this gives you various cell phones.
We are protecting your privacy in ways that no one else does. We've talked about how your cell phone is a government tracking device, how it archives where you've been, what you're up to, who you're talking with, what you're searching on the web, and that information is not private. It is available to the cell phone companies and often sold or used against people in court, right? With these phones, and I'm not trying to say that these are for criminals, these are for people who want the privacy that they are afforded by the Constitution, right? Because we don't think that it's our job to track you. It is our job to provide you with communications so you can go about your daily life.
BellaPatriot.com. Let me explain to you what this is. This is an elixir. It's a daily elixir. It is a collagen, and it also has something known as astaxanthin that crosses the brain-blood barrier, that's loaded with antioxidants to take on the free radicals. And then it has something called cat's claw. That is from a bark on a vine in Peru. So these are three very powerful ingredients. Now, if you go to BellaPatriot.com, there are your science and clinical trials, right? And if you want to read the science, there it is. You don't get nearly 80 clinical trials for nothing. So again, you want to talk about science, the information behind it, this is it. We highly urge you to check it out. The results for Melissa and I have been very powerful. She and I take it each and every day. It's very simple. You just rip the top, drink it, and then throw away the container. We would urge you to go there, order it now, click and order now, and get your subscription.
This is a man who we better be careful about. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the Justice Department and I'm going to ask the president to tell us what they're going to do to protect this country against violence it loses. I want to know about all of those right-wing organizations that he's connected with, who are training up in the hills somewhere and targeting, what communities they're going to attack.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Training Tuesday, and we're talking with Jeff Dornick, the CEO of Pickaxe, an author and commentator, has his own show on social media that he does. And Jeff, I had to play this clip of Mad Maxine here. Mad Maxine the Marxist. That's my name for her now, because I'm wondering why I haven't been invited up to these mountain camps where Donald Trump supporters are training to commit violence. And I wanted to talk to you about this and give you a chance to talk about Pickaxe and how it works, because this, if you didn't notice, folks, that clip was from MSNBC, which means the parent company of NBC also has it. And their platforms will all push this little clip of Mad Maxine the Marxist once again and try to change the way people think about Donald Trump supporters, which at last count, I'm guessing probably about 78 million people at least that are declared for Donald J. Trump in the United States of America. What does Pickaxe have to say about that kind of false narrative pushing, and how can we defeat it?
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where unfortunately, a lot of people will gobble that up. Again, I always say I may be jaded because I'm out here in communist California, surrounded by lefties, but it's really interesting having conversations with people. They'll just repeat these talking points over and over and over again because they heard it on their favorite news network. And, this happens on MSNBC, it happens on CNN, it happens on ABC, it happens on Fox News. It happens no matter which network you're watching. And it's really interesting. I can oftentimes tell, okay, which network are these people watching based upon the rhetoric that they're in, the lines that they're repeating. With this kind of thing, there's going to be countless people that watch MSNBC that's just going to say, oh, yeah, well, that's a fact. Maxine Waters wouldn't say that if it wasn't true, right, Rob? Like that's what people are going to be saying. Unfortunately, like I feel really left out. I mean, I don't know why Chad and I and you haven't been invited up to these secret training grounds up in the mountains. But it's really interesting because they're creating this narrative and they're creating this caricature of Donald Trump supporters as these crazy backwoods militia, military type people that are running around going to overthrow the government, and they're playing into the fears that they've been pushing ever since January 6th. So what we need to be able to wade through that, get to the American people with the truth. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do it through the mainstream media, whether you're talking Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, because they've got their gatekeepers. We're not really going to be able to do it on big tech because they've got either outright censorship or they've got the algorithms that with the subversive censorship, like you've got on X and some of these other alternative social media platforms. So what we're building out a platform to where you can cut through the censorship. If you've built an audience, you're going to be able to talk directly to your audience. We're going to have multiple ways to do that, a variety of ways to do that. But I think that this is going to be one of those things where we're going to be able to get our message out there to both sides. And the reason is because I've been talking to a lot of content creators and a lot of influencers outside of our own little conservative circle that are actually going to be joining Pickaxe, people on the left, people in other industries, people that you wouldn't think would be coming to an alternative social media platform. But a lot of it is because they're seeing the result of censorship and these algorithms working against them, even though they're not conservatives, even though they're not Trump supporters, because what these social media platforms are doing right now is they are boosting up what they call credible sources, people that you see on TV, celebrities, people with millions and millions of followers. If you have 50,000, 100,000, even 500,000 followers, you're deemed not a serious person. You're deemed not a reliable source. So then you get de-amplified, which affects their income. It affects their engagement. It affects their ability to be seen, to people even outside of their audiences or even to their audiences specifically. So I'm getting a lot of people that are going to be coming over specifically because we're not going to be playing those games on Pickaxe, which is going to allow us to not just be a MAGA, algorithmic bubble. We're not just be preaching to the choir. We're going to be able to get the truth out there and the information out there and allow discussions and debates within the platform that you're not going to get anywhere else, because we're going to be bringing in a wide variety of perspectives, beliefs, and because everybody's coming together around the idea that I want my message heard. Now let's have an open and honest discussion about what's actually going on.
Very interesting. We've got another question from the audience. I knew the audience would want to be really engaged in this one because everybody is really hungry for something real in this space, the space of real, honest, both journalism, opinion, and just facts that can be shared without fear of it being amplified or de-amplified and changing the reality for some people. So, Shel, go ahead and Bill, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up Maxine Waters. I put that video that she did, in fear of the Trump supporters, because Trump may lose in 2024. And then I put right beside it her video after 2016 when she actually got out there and told people to gather up a crowd and go out there and get in the face of Trump supporters. Jeff, I applaud you for what you're doing. How far out are you with a product that we can connect to and start test driving?
Yeah, definitely. We should be launching our beta launch here in the next couple of weeks. We basically have everything built out, up to date. The only thing that I'm working on is our advertising platform, which is going to be how we're going to be able to help to monetize content creators. So that's the final step that we're building, and we're just about completed with that as well. I've got a phenomenal tech team that's been doing a phenomenal job building this thing out. It's going to be super slick, very professional, and I think that we're going to be able to rival the big dogs with a platform like what we're doing right now. We're not just a cheap knockoff like a lot of the other alternative social medias. We're doing something different, and I think that's what we need right now. We don't just need to be copycats of Facebook and Twitter. We need to figure out what works, what doesn't, and how could we do things better, and I think we're going to be able to do that.
I know we follow each other, and if you look at my pinned tweet, I've had a lot since I've been on Twitter of feedback to Elon on how we can improve the platform. So would love to be in a beta or anything. Just, I'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, definitely. Actually,
Jeff,
go to pickaxe.com and fill out the form. And what I'll do specifically for you, Bill, is I'll mark you, because I can mark particular accounts and people that are signing up ahead of time. I will mark you and make sure that you're in the initial beta phase.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Bill. It's a great question. One of my questions, Jeff, I have is based on the experience I had with Getter. Which the Getter platform was able to pull in followers from some of the platforms to help build your audience or attach them to your Getter audience, and that's why I still post on that platform. As a matter of fact, is Pickaxe going to have some kind of capability to be able to do that?
So we're not going to be pulling in Twitter followers, and as bad as this sounds, and I don't want to just rag on Getter, but that was kind of a dishonest tactic that they did. The reason why they did that is to make it seem like there were more that you had more followers than you actually have on Getter, when in reality you didn't actually have access to all of those people. It was just a number that would show you how many how large your influence is across both platforms. But the problem was, and Joe Rogan exposed this, and then they kind of changed how they set this up, is that all it did is just show you how many followers you have on Twitter. It has no relevant information as opposed to your influence over there on Getter. So if you're looking at your Getter following and your Getter audience, it should only be based upon your specific Getter followers. So we're not going to be doing that, but we're going to be making it very easy to cross post and be able to post across different platforms, be able to share it, be able to maybe pull. And we're also going to be doing something really unique as well, where you're going to be able to post your content on other platforms, whether it's Rumble or Apple Podcast or Twitter or whatever it is, and instead of it just being an outbound link, it'll actually be viewable, playable, and you'll be able to interact with it directly within our platform. So something unique that nobody else is really doing there as well. So.
Well, great. Yeah, I think the concept with Getter is what it did was it improved existing folks that had larger audiences' ability to grow their audience faster, because their followers could see that, and it, like the verification piece, was almost automatic. If you were verified on Twitter, you would get verified on Getter, and those kind of things. And some platforms, the new ones, I can't get verified at all, even on a conservative platform in some cases. So that's very interesting. Do you have the ability to do that? If you're verified on one platform, you can be verified on Pickaxe, or is it going to be a separate verification process? Obviously,
so we've
like you said.
Yeah, no, it'll be free. We've got a separate verification process that we're going to be implementing. Anybody and everybody can become verified. What we'll need is what we basically want to know is, are you who you say you are? And so we're going to make sure that your ID matches up with your name. If there's certain things, whether it's you have a business or a corporation, or you've got like cat turd or something like that it's like, okay, we know that there's one cat turd. There's not multiple cat turds. There's one cat turd. We're going to have a process as well to where you can apply directly to us, to where we can verify, we can know who you are, but also you can still go with your pseudonym and things like that. But the main thing that I'm looking at, though, is that by going through this verification process, it's going to allow us to weed out the bots. The problem that's going on X right now is anybody and everybody can become verified, whether your name matches up with your handle or not. And then you've got all these people that are getting verified. They just attach a phone number basically to the account, maybe a driver's license, maybe, but you could verify multiple different accounts under the same phone number and under the same driver's license, to where then they just attach it to a bot, and then it's just going crazy. And you're like, what's the difference between a verified account and a non-verified account? I don't know who this person, Joe Schmo 64 with a cat in their profile picture. With Pickaxe specifically, we want you to know that if you're talking to somebody, that they are who they say they are. I think it's going to lead to more honest conversations. People aren't going to be hiding behind all the crazy anon accounts and things like that. It's also going to weed out the bots as well, because if you don't have a verified account, you can still post, you can still engage, you can still follow people, the whole deal, but you're going to be de-amplified. You're not going to be affecting the algorithms. You're not going to be getting in there and being able to manipulate the public in the way that these bot farms are, to where only verified people are going to be able to affect the algorithms, be trending, things like that. So we're going through this specifically so that way we can root out the bots in a way that Elon said he wanted to, but he was never able to implement.
Great. That's all good news. Well, we got to take another break, Jeff. When we come back, we'll go back to the audience, but we'll also, the cold open clip will be about disinformation and a disinformation operation that's going on right now against Donald J. Trump. We'll be right back with Jeff Dornick on the Rob Maness Show. It's Training Tuesday at Patriot.tv and X-Spaces simulcast.
Sounds rolling. All 3 cameras. We're good.
Is there any regrets that you have in life? I should sit here and say I got a lot of regrets. But when I look back on my life and I understand the lives that were lost, I mean, I'm sitting here with you. And I can tell my story.
Former National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, pleaded guilty today for lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military.
He was, by definition, the most dangerous possible person for Donald Trump to hire.
Really brilliant military career, serving 33 years.
Why was he being so elusive?
Mike Flynn told the truth and faced life in prison.
We've learned through the pandemic we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
Now, when you have crimes like this, whether it's this one or another one on another group, we have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price. They have to pay the ultimate price. They can't do this. They can't do this to our country. We must draw a line in the sand and say very strongly, never again. This evil
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. Here it's Training Tuesday. We're live on Patriot.tv and in our X-Spaces simulcast with the CEO of a new platform called Pickaxe, Jeff Dornick, who's a well-known conservative author and talk show host in the streaming and podcast environment. And Jeff, I wanted to get you to talk about how Pickaxe may be going to handle disinformation. That clip is being used to say that Donald Trump wants the death penalty for anti-Semitism, not for murder of Jewish people or things like that, but just anti-Semitism, encompassing everything from First Amendment protected speech to murder. And it's just not true. But it's out there and it's being pushed by the algorithms. Now, I like community notes on X. I think it gets abused a lot, but I think Musk is looking at that on how to do that. But that's been a very effective tool most of the time especially to uncover stuff like disinformation, to put out the actual video. What he was really talking about was the violent killing that is going on in this country, that he's an advocate for the death penalty of that across a whole bunch of different types of activities. It just so happened he was talking specifically about killing Jewish people in that one instance. But so how is Pickaxe going to handle that?
Yeah, so we're not necessarily doing community notes, because it's interesting. I think with community notes that's been another form of censorship. Again, not overt censorship, but subversive censorship that affects your algorithms. It affects people's impression of things, and they've all, like you've said, they have been weaponized, against people, because again, there's differing opinions. So the way that we're going to do that is obviously there'll be some editorial aspects of this, whether it comes to what's being amplified in the trending. Also, we'll have some accounts set up, things like Pickaxe News, things like that, to where we'll be able to actually put out, let's say, the full clips and allow that to get information out there as well. The way that I see overcoming disinformation is with more information. It's with the right information. It's not necessarily with using algorithms and things like that on the back end, because a lot of things are subjective. A lot of things are open to interpretation. I'm not saying that that's open to interpretation, because that's a clear cut. That thing was clipped, and there's been a lot of that going on the last week, heading in all different sorts of directions. Obviously, Trump has been dealing with this since day number one of them taking things out of context, even going back to his very first speech when he came down the escalator, and they're like, he just called all Mexicans rapists and murderers. It's like, no, he didn't. He said that there are rapists and murderers that are coming across the border. There's a huge difference that between what he actually said versus the perception of what he said, including the other one where he said that there's good people on both sides. It's like, no, he wasn't saying that the Nazis are good people. He was saying that there's good people on both sides of the debate about what statue should remain or be taken down. So that we see this happen over and over again. Some more examples of that has been going on with RFK. There's been clips pulled up, taken out of context. I've been fact checking those as well. This is going on both sides and all sides, and I think that the way that we do that is that we create an environment that makes it easier to get the truth out there. Right now, it seems like on X, the algorithms, like you said, they're amplifying these clip things because they're so focused on the engagement as the arbiter of what trends and what doesn't trend, and what gets boosted and not boosted, and all of that. So I think that there's definitely some things that we're working on the back end of our algorithms in order to help to get the truth out there. We're also going to have some editorial sides of things when it comes to some of our accounts that'll be official Pickaxe accounts that will be fact checking from that perspective. But we're not going to be censoring. We're not going to be downplaying. What we're going to be doing is trying to get the truth out there in wide mass forums, so that way more people can see the full context of what's going on, as opposed to just the clips.
Yeah, kind of like when I think it was you that quote tweeted over that particular clip of the person that's pushing the disinformation, one of the accounts pushing the disinformation. So with that particular clip, what you're saying is maybe you'd have an official Pickaxe account that's doing not necessarily a fact check, but saying, here's the entire video, here's what was really being talked about, etc. You make the call. Kind of like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically set up more systems and more platforms in order to get the truth out there. And again, I hate the term fact checker, because again, a lot of the things that are being fact checked are very subjective. But this would be one of those things that's very objective. You're not necessarily taking a political stance by clarifying this clip was taken out of context. Here's the full clip if you want to see what he was actually saying. That, to me, that seems like a pretty fair and open closed case on this. This is how we do this and correct the misinformation.
Yeah, it's a much better approach than anything else. It's just got to be systematic because of the amount of information flow and everything. So I look forward to seeing how that works in practice. Well, we got another hand up in the audience, and let's go over there. Shell is the host. Who's next, Shell?
I don't know who put their hand up
AJ.
first, but we'll let Chad go, and then we're going to let
AJ.
No, let AJ go. I've already spoke, but we'll come back to the wood chipper in a minute.
Yeah, we'll come back to Chad, but AJ.
Thank you for the mic. Mr. Dornick, it's a pleasure, sir. I'm an Intel guy. I operate independently, and I have a personal concern that I've heard echo by others also. And the question is, there's a lot of controversy going around how Zuckerberg is conducting himself regarding Facebook, also with TikTok, and all this friction and fights that Elon Musk is having on X in this very hot time in which we live. Some people are saying that there's a chance that Pickaxe is going to basically arrive designed to fail because Washington will throw a wrench into the process. Basically, it is going to be delivered neutered. It's going to be a stillborn delivery. So I would like that not to be the case, obviously, but I wanted to know what your take on that is. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question, and I think especially with everything that's going on today, it's a very fair question as well, because we've seen a lot of different alternative social media platforms pop up, and they are very neutered, and a lot of it is because the way that they're neutering themselves. We see this with True Social, we saw this with Getter, we see this with Clout Hub, we see this with basically any platform that is in any of the app stores are neutered by definition, because they have to play by the rules that are set forth by Apple and by Google, which, by the way, also are working with our government and the intelligence agency. So they're setting things up. So, for example, True Social, they came out with a press release when they first launched that they contracted with an artificial intelligence company out of Silicon Valley to deal with all their content moderation and censorship. We've seen them censor people like a lot of the doctors. I was talking with one of the high ups over at the wellness company who has been saying that they've been struggling on all the platforms, including X, including True Social, that they've been being de-amplified in the algorithms, being censored, being shut down left and right. And so they're looking forward to being a part of Pickaxe. But the way that we're really setting ourselves up is that we're doing everything we can to not be reliant on big tech. Obviously, there's going to be certain areas where at launch we're going to, but I'm already working on the technological ways of bypassing that. We're not going to be in the app stores. We're going to be completely web-based, so that way I don't have to play by the rules of Apple and Google. We're not going to be on Amazon servers or anything like that. So we're not dealing with that as well. So in all reality, I can kind of play by my own rules. I've been working with attorneys on our terms and conditions, our privacy policy, all of that to reflect a truly constitutionally protected free speech platform, and so that way we are not neutered by definition, and we will defend your free speech constitutional rights and your privacy rights. We're not going to be tracking you outside of the platform. We're not going to be doing all these tactics that everybody else is doing. I don't even need to necessarily target our advertising, because we're going to have a completely different way of targeting our advertising that does not track you, that does not follow you around to see what websites you go to and what you click on and all that kind of stuff. So we're doing everything that we can in order to make sure that we're protecting your privacy. We're not beholden to big tech. We're not going to be having to be neutered by the intelligence agencies. So I'm not beholden to anybody, and we can actually defend free speech, free discussion, and free back and forth without restriction from all the bigs, as I refer to them.
So Jeff, that was a great question, AJ. Thank you very much, and thanks for that answer. So if I've got my little iPhone here, it's my whole life. How do I get the Pickaxe in practice if it's not on an app store somewhere?
Yeah, so one of the things, and I don't know, I'd have to look at this with if you've got like an Android or something like that. I know on an iPhone, and I know this is the way that Gab does it. Obviously, you can go there on any web browser. You go to pickaxe.com. You'll be able to access the web. It's going to be extremely mobile friendly, about as mobile friendly as it would be if you were actually using an app. And so we designed it that way specifically, very smooth, very slick. But then you can also save it and bookmark it to your homepage as if it were an app, and then it would take you directly to the social media platform on the web browser, but you'd be clicking on it as if you were clicking on X or Facebook or whatever it is. So we're designing it that way. We'll have step-by-steps in order to do that. There's also some interesting movement that's going on in Europe, to where some European courts have actually said that these big tech companies like Facebook and Apple and Google and all of that if they have an app store, that they cannot restrict people from having access to the app store by all their rules, and to where they're actually compelling Google and Apple to allow developers to allow direct downloads onto their platforms. Now that's in Europe. That's not necessarily here, but I would guess that that's probably going to come here to the United States very soon, which means that we'd be able to have our own app that you could download directly from us instead of having to go through the App Store. There's also some workarounds that I'm working on as well to be able to have an app to where you can do a direct download. But I'm doing everything I can to where I do not want to go through their App Store, because if you do, you have to play by their rules, and you can claim to be a free speech platform. But right now, if you are in either Google's App Store or Apple's App Store, you are by definition not a free speech platform.
Yeah, I use Gab's methodology because I have an account on there that I use occasionally, and it seems to work very well on my iPhone. So I've been using it through several versions of this iPhone thing. So I look forward to that too. We got to take our last break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the COVID pandemic and the disinformation and suppression of valid information the government did. And now the New York Times all of a sudden is reporting that COVID vaccines are causing death and causing illnesses and having adverse effects on the American people. And we'll see how PICAC will handle that. I'll be right back on the Rob Maness Show Live Training Tuesday with Jeff Dornick, the CEO of PICAC.
Joining me at the news desk now is Rebecca Walzer of WalzerWealth.com. She has been a regular guest on my TV show, Brennan House Live, for a long time. She's not just an economics expert, but she's an attorney. Rebecca, you have a large firm. How many people work for your firm?
Just about 30, yes.
30. And
yes.
Tell me, how can people prepare for what's coming with the end of the dollar as we know it?
The end of the fiat system as we know it globally. We are moving to hard asset-backed currencies again. Thank the Lord, because fiat is where we get into all the problems. When you have debt-based currency, you have debt-based problems. And the United States, unfortunately, since 2020 has not stopped spending at pandemic levels. This is systemic, and it is unsustainable, and it is coming to an end, especially with the addition of Saudi Arabia and the UAE to the BRICS nations. This is what controls our petrodollar. This is the threat immediately in 2024.
For more information, WalzerWealth.com. WalzerWealth.com. She is not your traditional financial planner. Find out why at WalzerWealth.com.
About 30 years ago, I had the opportunity to go into the Amazon rainforest and study their medicinal treasures. And the one that really captured my imagination was cat's claw. After all the discussions and interviews with the locals, I went back to the lab and I found that it was the most potent inhibitor of a switch called NF-kappa B. NF-kappa B is normally dormant, and then with oxidative stress, it migrates to the nucleus and it regulates thousands of genes involved in inflammation, turning some on, turning some off. And if you suppress NF-kappa B, keep it inactive, which is what cat's claw does, then you're able to temper down all of that stress on the body. So cat's claw, I've been using it ever since. So the scientist actually takes his own medicine.
New York Times released an article that's getting a lot of play that says that there are thousands of people who say they're still suffering side effects they believe from the vaccine, and that those have been ignored. Now, one of them is nurse practitioner Sean Barkovich. He says he got his first dose in 2020, had side effects. Just standing up sent his heart racing, stinging pain in his eyes, mouth, groin. Those have gotten a little bit better, but he still has what they call tinnitus. That's a ringing in the ears. We know that vaccines can have unintended consequences, AKA side effects, but nobody's really talking about it because they're too afraid of blame and they just want it to go away. But the problem is people like Sean and me and millions of others who still have weird stuff with their blood work and their lives and their feelings, physically, are not going away. Sean Barkovich joined.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. Here we're live on Patriot.tv and X-Space's simulcast, and it's Training Tuesday, and we're talking with the CEO of PICAC, Jeff Dornick. It's a new social media platform. They're getting ready to roll out their beta testing. They've been working on it for a little bit over a year, and I'm excited about it because it has the potential promise to be an even-handed, present information in a factual, truthful way, and even opinion. If I'm given especially a professional opinion, you shouldn't be fact-checking it, especially if it's a doctor giving that opinion. And Jeff, I lost my YouTube channel because I did shows with doctors that profess their professional opinion about things like ivermectin and HCQ and the vaccine being harmful and those kind of things. And YouTube completely eviscerated my channel and turned it off because of shows that I'd done over a 2 to 3 year period, just because they were about the topic of COVID-19 and had doctors on there giving their professional medical opinions. So I want to get to that, but also that clip is new. The New York Times has finally published something. Chris Cuomo, whose brother was the governor of New York, and he supported him 100% through all of this mess, and he's finally putting this information out here, and that's all good. But can Pickaxe, does that capability have a way for us to navigate to the truth? So in the heat of the battle of the pandemic, when I was interviewing people that cost me my YouTube channel about the facts and the reality and their professional medical opinions and their courage to do so, get that to the people, because that was being suppressed too.
Yeah. So I think one of the things specifically that was really hard, especially in the heart of the quote unquote pandemic, was that there was so much actually bad information coming out from quote unquote reliable sources, and then it was all these doctors that were phenomenal. Like I interviewed a lot of these same doctors that you're talking about. Dr. Zelenko, Dr. McCullough, Dr. Tenpenny, all these people that they're like raising concerns about what the heck's going on. Then I started doing a show with Karen Kingston where we just dive into all the patents, we dive into all the studies, all the background information that was going on, and it's like this is directly contrast with everything that the FDA and Pfizer and Big Pharma and all these agencies are telling us. And so again, I was talking with Foster Colson over at the Wellness Company, and we're gonna be working with them with Pickaxe as well. But for us specifically, it's like, okay, how can we make it to where we can foster a place that values open conversations, kind of like the difference between mainstream media versus like Joe Rogan or Bill Maher's podcast or different things like that, where we can actually have open-ended conversations. So like one of the things that I want to do personally as the CEO of Pickaxe is, if I see two prominent people on the platform that have opposing opinions on something, I don't care if it's COVID or election fraud or any issue really, maybe I sit down and I do a show with them, and we sit down. Okay, let's actually discuss this right here, right now, and let's talk about this. Maybe there's gonna be two different articles, because you're gonna be able to write articles directly on the platform and actually embedded into the platform itself. Maybe we can put two of those opposing opinion articles side by side to where you can click on both of them, you can read both of them, and you can see who makes a more compelling argument based upon the data and the facts and things like that. So there's definitely going to be some strategic things that we can do that will open up the conversation, open up the debate. Again, as a platform, what we're looking to do is help everybody to be able to not be restricted in their speech. And then what we want to do is we want to be able to foster conversation and debate and discussion with opposing viewpoints, so that way we can actually deal with a lot of these issues that we were not allowed to deal with in the heart of COVID. So there's definitely going to be some technical things that we can do to help amplify that.
Well, that's good news. Will you be able to do what we're doing now? I'm live streaming this video to X, and I can simulcast a audience through audio and have audience participation. Will you be able to do those kind of things?
So we're not having that at launch. It's definitely in our game plan of features that we're going to roll out. The way that our workaround is actually going to be to where you're going to be able to post. I don't care if you're posting a video, audio, a podcast, live stream on YouTube, on Rumble, even on Twitter. If you just post the link to the post, it will be playable in the Pickaxe newsfeed. So if you're live streaming on X, you're live streaming on Rumble, you're going to be able to post that, and people are scrolling through. They're able to watch it there. It's not just an outbound link. Same thing with Spaces, actually, where you're going to be able to post the tweet that the space is held in on our platform, and it's going to be playable directly right there in the platform. So we're doing that as a workaround, just because, again, bandwidth is such an expensive thing. It's so hard and so cost prohibitive in order to do that from a server standpoint. But it's definitely one of those things that we are going to be building. But in the meantime, we're going to do everything to help you to amplify all the rest of your platforms that you're already on, so that way you can still take advantage of Pickaxe and use Pickaxe in order to build up your Rumble account or your Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Twitter or whatever it is.
That's fantastic. Well, I think we've got one more hand from the audience, Jeff, before we close out the show. Shell, who do you got?
I believe Chad had his hand up, sir.
Okay, we'll let him go.
I'm like two segments back, but I can roll it all into one. Jeff, I've watched you build this thing from Pickaxe and what you're trying to do. What is going to be the rollout? For Truth, it was just Trump saying we're doing Truth. What's going to be the rollout? I'm thinking like national tour of a bunch of blue collar fellers that go out there and kick ass. I don't know, just a thought. How are you going to roll this thing out?
Oh, and Jeff, while you're answering his question, explain why the term Pickaxe for the platform too.
Oh yeah, definitely. So the term Pickaxe, it comes from kind of a few different perspectives. One is I really wanted to emote more of that blue collar, get in there, manual labor type thing, because I think a lot of times we a lot of tech is very very prissy Silicon Valley, these people that have never lifted a finger to do anything, and it's like, okay, let's actually get in there. We're doing the hard work of saving this country and conversing with each other and debating each other, and not just sitting there being offended all the time. But then also too, we're going to be picking away at the power that big tech and all the bigs have over us. We're going to use technology in order to bring freedom back to the American people, in order to bring free speech. Maybe down the road, maybe we'll get into finance, maybe we'll get into a PayPal alternative, maybe we're going to do all these different kinds of things that we could do with technology, but it's going to be very labor intensive, and we're going to be doing the hard work. So that's really where this idea of Pickaxe came in. Plus, when you're on the platform, instead of like liking or disliking, you're going to be picking something or axing something, and that will be your way of engaging with the posts that are on there. So it's kind of tongue in cheek playing words there as well. The rollout, I would love to do a tour. I would love to do things like that. We're kind of in talks with a few different people in order to do something like that. I would love to be able to have it to where we could, maybe we go on tour and we're going to have a lot of our prominent content creators going out on tour. Maybe we get into some discussions and debates. We have people from different perspectives. Let's sit down, let's do a panel and actually talk about these controversial hot button issues on stage, and then we're using that in order to promote Pickaxe, because that's the kind of conversation that I want to have, not just with a bunch of people that already agree with me. I want to have the tough conversations with people that disagree with us, so that way we can actually get down to maybe some form of consensus at some point. So I think, to me, that would be a phenomenal thing. In all reality, right now the game plan is we're gonna have the beta launch. We're gonna onboard a certain number of content creators that we know really test this thing out. We're gonna onboard users that have already signed up right now for Pickaxe. If you guys go to pickaxe.com, you guys can sign up right now to be a part of our beta launch, and then we're just gonna roll it out from there. And I think as we head into the election, I think we're gonna be able to roll out a whole bunch of really cool things, a lot of really cool announcements that will really help to boost this thing up and amplify it as well.
Well, thanks, my friend, for coming on the show and talking about this great platform. I look forward to using it. Let me know what I can do to help. I can help everywhere, but with the dollar signs, because I don't have much of that. But I can do everything else that you need, and we'll certainly do that, because I'm an early signer-upper, and look forward to the platform and using it. And we'll use it for this show, too, as much as we possibly can. There you go, pickaxe.com, folks. CEO Jeff Dornick. Go follow him on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call that thing. Tomorrow on the Rob Maness Show live here at Patriot.tv, it's Whistleblower Wednesday, and we're blowing the whistle on the United States government and state governments registering illegal aliens to vote. using your and my tax dollars. And the guy helping us blow that whistle is Chad Caton, the host of I'm Fired Up, the National Operations Manager for Veterans for Trump. And we are going to really peel that onion back and show you the truth and get you to take some action and call your government, especially that Joe Biden guy who's a tyrant that's using your tax dollars to do such a despicable thing. I'm Rob Maness. We'll see you tomorrow.